Good morning, people of Holden and Dala and Trinity and Wanamingo. Pastor Chris and I are here with you today to do a continuation of our Bible study on the book of Isaiah. The last Bible study we did was on Isaiah's call story, and today we're jumping ahead towards the end of the book of Isaiah because it's a reading that the people of Trinity and Wanamingo have this Sunday. The reading comes from Isaiah 45.
Verses 1 through 7. Thus says the Lord to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand I have grasped, to subdue nations before him, and strip kings of their robes, to open doors before him, and the gate shall not be closed. I will go before you and level the mountains. I will break in pieces the doors of bronze, and cut through the bars of iron. I will give you the treasures of darkness and riches hidden in secret places, so that you may know that it is I, the Lord, the God of Israel, who call you by your name. For the sake of my servant Jacob and Israel my chosen, I call you by your name. I surname you, though you do not know me. I am the Lord, and there is no other. Besides me there is no God. I arm you, though you do not know me, so that they may know from the rising of the sun and from the west that there is no one besides me. I am the Lord, and there is no other. I form light and create darkness. I make weal and create woe. I, the Lord, do all these things. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. So what struck me about this passage is that very first verse. The Lord said to his anointed, to Cyrus. Now in Hebrew, anointed is Messiah, or in Greek it would be Christ. And I found it really interesting that the Lord's anointed in this passage from Isaiah is Cyrus. Now, who was Cyrus? About 540 years before Jesus was born, a new superpower emerged in the Middle East, and that superpower was Persia. And the first empire Persia conquered to secure its standing as the new superpower in the Middle East was Babylon. Now, why would that matter? Because God's people, the Jews, were living as exiles in Babylon. Then the Persians come in and they set them free. The Jews were no longer prisoners. They no longer were forced to live in exile. They could return home to Jerusalem, to Israel, to their homes, to their farms, to restore their businesses and their way of life. And so God uses Cyrus, a non-Jew, somebody that didn't even know the Lord, to free his people. And that's why Cyrus is God's anointed one. Which made me wonder, and something for us all to ponder is, who might God be using in our lives to do God's work in this time, in this place? So ponder that, because God can and does use people in surprising ways to accomplish God's purposes.
The part of the passage that spoke to me as we heard it this week is the verse a little bit later that says, I will give you the treasures of darkness and riches hidden in secret places, so that you may know that it is I, the Lord, who calls you by your name. And as you think about this passage, at times life can seem dark, our world can seem dark, and it's hard maybe to notice the treasures around us. But this promises that God does give us treasures out of darkness. God does give us riches that may be hidden, that are hard to see at first. And so to think about in this time, what are the treasures in your life? Who are the treasures in your life? What are the riches God has given you that sometimes may be hard to see, that you have to look for in secret places? Also, there's a reminder in this that God does all this. God sends Cyrus, God gives us treasures out of darkness for one reason. So we know that it's God who's calling us by our name. So this week, consider, maybe talk to a friend or family member. Who is God sending to you to do his will? And also, what are the treasures that you have been able to find in your life in this time?
Thank you all for joining us for part 2 of our Isaiah Bible study. And we will add another edition of this Bible study next month. But for now, blessings on your day.